Hey guys, and welcome back to Smells Like Teen Angst. We are here with episode 9 of Pretty Little Liars, Original Sin. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You didn't even say the episode number.
I said episode 9.
Okay.
You want me to do it again?
I'm Jordan.
Like, in case I didn't, we are talking about episode 9. Yes. And with my ladies, I'm Jordan. I heard you.
And I'm Keiki.
Are you gonna cut any of that, or are we just gonna leave it how it was?
Sometimes I do both, so we're gonna see how I'm feeling at the time. I have to just say this. The Halloween episode was my favorite, and now episode 9 is my favorite. I spent the whole episode screaming at my screen for a multitude of reasons. Just me.
I just as I was watching this episode, we were texting each other talking about how many episodes are we going to record and talk about. And I didn't know if we were supposed to watch 10 or not. But I screamed at 9 so much that I was like, I can't stop here. I don't care if we're not going to talk about 10 this week. I'm watching 10 because what the fuck?
I know HBOMax dropped all 3. I blame them. It's hard. It's very hard. Look, I'm even in a hotel, guys. I'm out of town for work, and I'm doing this because it's great.
This was an anxiety-filled episode, and it gave me OG Pretty Little Liars finale episodes vibes, where the whole time you're anxious, the whole time you're like, WTF, I need to know what's going on. There were levels for sure, but
And they
all
really
together so fast.
And that's what I'm saying. They brought everything together, and that's what I love. I've just finished reading A Court of Thorn and Roses, and one of the reasons I enjoyed that series so much is because the author does not write a single sentence that doesn't come back later. It's very much Chekhov's gun when you're like, hey, if you see a gun in the first act, somebody's getting shot by act 3. And that's what every episode that we've talked about this, I'm like, there are a lot of dangling threads. Are they going to clean them up? Are they going to clean them up? Are they going to clean them up? And episode 9 was like, listen, bitch, we're cleaning all of it up. Calm down.
Exactly. Here's the broom. We're ready.
We're sweeping. God, calm down.
So this episode opens on the girls filling in all of their moms. So like somehow all the girls knew about every one of the gifts and the letters. This whole scene is a little bit weird, is what I wrote down. And the moms are like, okay, we're going to tell you the truth, right? The moms have always stuck to, we are sticking to the version of the truth that everyone knows. And that's the version of the truth that the moms tell them. We were bullies in high school because, and I thought this line was perfect, girls were meaner in the 90s, which is facts.
It's true. We were a lot meaner than this current generation, and I love them. I love that they're not mean the way that we were.
No, it's so much. I'm like, thank you for that. Thank you for learning from all of our mistakes and all of everyone's mistakes. And then Sydney confirms, because we were wondering what Davy's sin was, right? And what Sydney's mother says is that was the Halloween prank was Imogen's mother's issue. So I'm going to start with Noah this time around. So her mom says that she wants to get clean, but she wants to do it alone. She doesn't want to go to rehab. And then I thought that we were going to get a new character that never shows up this episode, because she's like, I've called my sponsor Grace. I was like, oh, cool, new character. No? Okay.
No.
And then she wants her to go stay with Sean. And I don't know about you guys, but I was not allowed to have boys, not even that were not my boyfriend, sleep in my room if they were on the floor. That was not a thing. That was not.
Guys couldn't even come to my house. Okay. Like the one time that a boy was in the car with me, my brother sits in the front seat talking about how his friend drives a tank in Iraq.
Yeah.
True story. Ask Brian about it when you see him.
Amazing.
Boys weren't allowed in my bedroom. Mind you, I shared it with 2 other siblings. It was technically a den, which is very weird because it was like the bottom floor of a house, but it worked anyway. Yeah, but doesn't mean I didn't have boys in my room. So I was friends with boys, so I would sneak them in my room.
Right, but that's different. Noah is literally spending the night with Sean's parents' permission in his room.
Yeah, and I used to let like friends. I don't think my mom was that naive to it. Like I had a couple of guy friends who have very abusive dads, and I'm not naming them, but there were a couple of times they knocked on my sliding glass window and they slept on my floor, and it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, but they weren't your boyfriend, Keiki.
They weren't, but I know my mom like saw them. She had to.
For sure, but that's very different than
That's
the
different.
scenario we're talking about.
Yeah. It wouldn't have flown in my family, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. And Noah confronts Sean about the pills, and he apologizes, and he's going to throw them away. He's like, but what about you and your inhaler? She's like, bro, I threw that shit away.
Thank
I'm
you.
not using it.
Especially because I was over here doing research like, wait, are inhalers illegal? Is she doping? Is this a Spencer storyline? What's happening? You know, all that.
Yeah. So I'm glad they didn't turn that inhaler thing into a bigger storyline. And, you know, Sean says he's going to wean himself off the pill. He's like, I can't just do it cold turkey. I have to wean myself. And I'm like, yes, do it safely. And then while Noah's mom is trying to like do her own little rehabilitation, Noah's working her pizza shifts, and of course runs into her dealer, which makes her very suspicious.
And I will say she runs into the dealer, but Noah is so spunky because she tells him, you get the fuck away from me and you stay the fuck away from my mom. Like she is not one to be played with.
Like last episode, she was running up to Crazy Joe with freaking knives. She's like, we're doing it.
Yeah, she was not about to let dealer bro punk her for her tips. She was like, and you can go. And I appreciated that.
She's like, your mom owes me. She's like, well, I ain't my mama, so I don't have to tell you. Bye. Kelly. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, of course, Sean then later runs into Noah at the pizza place, catches her in a lie. She tells him that her mom is detoxing. He's super proud of her, but convinces all his bros to leave the pizza place so she doesn't have to like wait on them, which is honestly really sweet.
Super sweet. If he turns out to be garbage, I'm going to be upset.
Right?
I'm already upset.
There's another part of Noah's storyline, but I think we're going to talk about that later, so I don't want to mention it right now. Yeah. But at the very end, Noah goes to check on her mom a couple days later to see how the detox is going. And of course, the drug dealer is there. And again, we get sassy ass Noah. She pulls a baseball bat out from like their umbrella stand and is like, get out of my house.
Yes. I loved that. I was like,
ready to swing.
Ready to swing. This girl's scrappy. She's slowly become my favorite just because she actually has so much good character development, and I love how strong she is. And she's like, I'm not taking shit. I've taken shit my whole life. I deal with my mother, who's basically a child, and I am an adult. So I feel sad that that's who she has to be, but also it makes her my favorite.
Yes.
Kelly is next on my list. Her parents are just atrocious. Like Kelly's life gets worse and worse every episode. Like her father.
It started out so bad. She started out at -5. Like it wasn't good in the beginning. It just got worse.
Like her dad literally being like, I wish you died and not Kelly. I mean, not Karen. And I'm just like, what? What's wrong with you? Who does that? And so now she's like showing up to school in Karen's clothes because she's like, well, if everyone wants me to be freaking Karen, it's like what I said for the last episode, then I'll just be Karen. I'm like, oh, this poor girl, she's gonna need therapy.
A lot of it, like a lot. First of all, if you were a twin who lost a twin under normal circumstances, like normal everyday circumstances, and you had loving parents, you would need a lot of therapy. This girl lost her twin under really weird, shady circumstances. Her parents are both out of it. This girl, she better take her whole college fund and spend it on therapy, because damn.
I know.
I feel for her as someone who has lost siblings. I feel for her. I really, really feel for her.
But there's a butt in there.
My butt is she doesn't seek out female friendship. She doesn't seek out help. And she gets mad when people offer it to her. Like,
yeah.
And I feel like that's really I don't know. I'm at a catch with that because I'm like, I understand not wanting to accept help, but then like you're not changing the situation. You're still
Um,
eating yourself alive.
I think a lot of it is because Kelly has never really had female friendship because Imogen was friends with Karen. So she's always been the tag along person. Her only friend ever was her sister. And the only thing she's ever known was to be a mean girl. And so I think she's doing it as a place of why, if I was so mean to them, why would they ever genuinely care? And why would they ever genuinely help me? Because it's coming from her own defenses of who she still believes she is and is projecting onto them. That's what I think.
Yeah, I see that. I see that definitely. I think that's definitely what they're playing at. I don't know, because I'm still on the is this Kelly or is this Karen thing. I'm just like, if you were really Kelly, wouldn't you try harder to be your sister or to be the complete opposite of your sister?
Right. I think if she was really Karen, a lot more Karen would come forward. And I think Kelly's always been in her sister's shadow and doesn't actually even know who she is.
I think that the actor would give up very quickly because that's just what happened in I Know What You Did Last Summer, where they did the actual plot with the wrong twin dying, where I think we hit episode 4 when people were like, bitch, you're not acting like yourself. You're acting like your sister.
Yeah.
Because you can't keep that act up.
Yeah.
Did they ever reveal if it was Kelly who showed up at the grave when the girls were at Karen's grave?
What do you mean? Like if Kelly in the third episode?
Yeah, in the car.
That was A in the car.
That was A in the car.
Oh, that was A in the car.
Yeah.
Which is why I said it was weird that we're going to jump 2 weeks later and never acknowledge the fact that they all saw A sitting in a van. I was like,
that's right.
Anyway.
I was like, whatever. Faran is next on my list. So no more ballet means that Faran is going to embrace her natural hair, her natural beauty, and she's going to go on her own little natural journey and start an independent dance study.
I love this. I love that she starts her independent study. I love that she tells Tabitha that like she inspired her and they have that cute little like girl moment. You really see that the girls have really come to rely on each other and like love each other and are true friends in this episode. It really gets driven home that they've created their own bonds, and that was really cute. And I love that Faran's she is making the best out of her situation. She got lemons and the bitch is making lemonade.
And let
me just say before we get back into more plot points, she made it seem like natural hair was way too easy. Okay, as someone who transitioned from wearing their hair straight before the pandemic, it took me at least a year to kind of figure out how to make it look nice. And on top of all of that, it still doesn't act right, the time. So I'm just like, girl,
she had all the products ready. She knew
ready. Like,
girl, you don't just have curl pudding laying around if you don't be wearing your hair curly. Stop this.
Exactly. Every curly girl has, I call it the graveyard, and it is literally the death of products that you have used like once or twice, but you're like, I can't take it back. I've had it for like a month. I've been trying to make it work.
It's like the bottom drawer of your cabinet or somewhere, and it's just where the products go to die.
Exactly.
And you try and pawn them off on other people. You're like, maybe this will work for you. It didn't work on me, but like you got a different hair type than I do.
Exactly. I pawn them off on my sister. I pawn them off on my mama to use on my nephew. Like, it's a lot. But yeah, I don't know how she just had all that lying around.
Can I or is it time for plot points again?
Yeah, I mean, we can get plot points, but I just felt like someone had to say it, okay?
No, I appreciate it. I can't speak on it. So
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. Henry tells Faran that Kelly during rehearsal kissed him out of nowhere. And so she goes to confront her and then realizes that Kelly is doing self-harm again. And so she takes it upon herself to go confront her dad. Faran goes to see Sheriff Beasley and tells him all. And then,
but before that, I just want to give Faran her claps and pats for instead of coming at her sideways about, you kissed my man, she was able to turn it and provide female friendship to this girl, despite everything they've been through, despite what they've done to her. She's like, let's change the narrative. We can fix that. Like, she went
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, she went from defense to literally being a caregiver. And I love that.
She's like,
Faran has a lot of integrity and a lot of empathy as a character, and it was really on display in this episode. And I loved that. Just like you said, like she was like, okay, wait a minute, let me step back. I'm gonna listen to you. Oh, okay, wait, this is about you right now.
And then she doesn't need to be upset. Like Kelly wasn't doing it out of malice or because she wanted her boyfriend. She's just spiraling, you know, and she just did something crazy, trying to feel something. And that's also then why she began to self-harm again. And then I loved this scene where Faran confronts the sheriff. And then I love how he outs himself because she's like, I don't know what Noah told you. And she's like, well, Noah didn't tell me shit. So, but I'm happy to know.
I'm going to go back and talk to Noah. Damn.
Yeah. And it's such a good scene. And then I love when she leaves, she turns a corner and like has a moment and she's breathing heavy because she was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. You know, it's that where you hype yourself up, you do something wild like that. And then you're like, what did I just do?
She tapped into that Sasha Fierce, that bad bitch, that altar. She went for it.
And I think it really grounds the show in that these girls are still teenagers, right? Like they're still in high school. They're still in high school. They're going up against adults. It's not easy. It's very terrifying. And I love that moment because you do, as someone who was a teenager who told off several adults, you have that moment where you're like, maybe I made a mistake.
Yeah. Absolutely. You're like, I just thought it made that moment so real. You know, it was such a real moment. They were like, this is what happens after you do something like that. My next person is Mouse. She and Ash have made a plot to parent trap her parents. And they're all at the pizza place. And then they like start digging into Ash about being trans and if he's ever afraid to be trans. And like, you know, Mouse, that's all we get of it. And all I can imagine is the rest of these questions these moms have for him. And Mouse is like, I am so sorry. It's a whole moment.
I loved it from the standpoint of whomst among us has not brought a boyfriend home and then had to make the I'm so sorry phone call after dinner is over.
I know. And then Mouse, you know, as I said, loves to make really good decisions. She decides she's going to hang out with Steve. And they're going to hang out with Ash and Steve as her dad at the bowling alley. And then Steve gets some sort of phone call that makes him snap. And he leaves abruptly. And eventually Steve does call her and is sobbing in tears and tells her that they found Rachel's body, his missing daughter, who Mouse has been playing at in a landfill.
You know, that was very sad, but it was such a relief for me that it wasn't A.
It was a relief for me that Steve is not connected to A, and it was very sad, but it also made me angry because he said one thing in particular. He goes, I need to talk to someone. And I immediately wrote down, go talk to an adult.
Yeah.
Adults, you're in a group. He's in a group. Go talk to the group.
Go talk to the group.
Stop talking to this little girl. She's a little girl.
She is a little girl. And I'm just like, ma'am, sir, please stop. Tabitha is next. So Tabitha and her mom are still talking about the assault and ways that she can help her. And her mom, I think is interesting because she's having flashes and thoughts of every time her daughter, oh, Wes is going to drive me home. Wes, I'm going to be fine. So, you know, Tabitha and Wes are looking at her storyboard for the movie. Chip is over here in a corner staring at them creepily. And then Tabitha like shares the whole like DNA thing with her mom, and Corey's going to try and help. And then while she's there, I'm like, the storyline all kind of jumbles together in my mind. I'm so sorry. Sydney realizes something's going on with this Wes guy, and she literally rolls up, screaming at him, calls it grooming. And I'm like, you go, Mom. You call him. And she's like, how old are you? 28? Like,
I feel like this scene was really a sign of my maturity as a human, because I know when I was younger, I would have really like identified with Tabitha in this scene and been mortified about how embarrassing her mom was acting and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. And like, because we're the audience, we know that her mom is wrong, but I still found myself identifying with Sydney and being like, yes, tell that grown man you will cut his dick off if he doesn't get away from your daughter. She's a child.
Loved it. Very much loved it. Also, random interjection. Why does every amateur filmmaker have a red? That camera is like minimum 6K. That's without lenses. That's without rigging. Like, I'm sorry, but you live in like what looks like Detroit.
A very like broken down town.
Live in Pennsylvania. People are very upset about our Detroit comments.
Okay, I'm sorry. You live in Pennsylvania. And
this town is broke, okay, is the moral of the story. Like, you can tell.
Running a movie theater, yet you still own a red camera. Like, bro, sell it and buy a house. Like, I know you can buy one there with like 6K down. Don't play with me.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tabitha takes her mom outside. Tells her mom that it's not Wes, that, you know, Wes has done his share of dirt, but she knows it's not him.
Mm-hmm.
Tells her mom about the DNA plot, tells her about all the evidence they have about who it may be. And her mom was like, okay, you know, we'll call Corey. I am going to let you handle this your way, you know, and we'll figure it out kind of situation, which again, I appreciated, because disclosing these things are not hard. And I empathize with her mom, where you want to protect your baby and you want to protect your child. And when you find out that you have not, you want to get justice for them. Absolutely. But I appreciate that she's letting Tabitha have the lead on this, because that's how it should be done. That being said, is that she says something that starts playing over in Tabitha's brain. And she says 9 times out of 10, it's someone you know. And Tabitha cannot stop thinking about that. And I feel like we'll get to that at the end, because we're all these things get set up, and then the end just comes like a fucking freight train in this episode. So I'm really gonna stop there, and
Chip and she goes back in, and Chip and Tabitha have this really awkward conversation too about Wes's feelings for her and his feelings for her, but now like he's with Imogen because she wouldn't give him the time of day, which like I'm just saying it. I said
it.
Wes. Sorry.
I don't trust him. I don't like him.
So Tabitha has a flashback of the party of the party the night that Imogen is assaulted, and she remembers that Chip kissed her, and she turned him down, and he leaves the party alone. And this is gonna and as soon as she started thinking Chip, I was like, "Girl, I've been said
I didn't trust him. I knew I didn't like him."
You looked at me like I was crazy. Both of you, Keiki, looked at me like I was crazy.
I did.
Look, because I didn't want it to be that easy. I know 9 times out of 10, it is someone you know.
Well, and here's the thing, though. When you said you didn't like Chip, you didn't have Chip fingered as the assaulter. You had him fingered as working with A, which we don't know if the assaulter and A are connected.
I think he's the one who was doing, and I think he was the assaulter.
Did you?
It was 2 different nights. 2 separate incidences. And then I just have to say that if it's Chip, I'm gonna be upset because I love him. It's always the one you don't expect. It's not gonna be the Tylers. It's not gonna be the Greg. I'm just saying.
You're like, it's gonna be the nice boy at the movie theater.
It's gonna be the nice boy at the movie theater. Watch. Just remember I said this.
My bad then. I did look at you like you were crazy, and I apologized about it in the last recap, because during the last episode, he just seemed shady for me. Why is he always in the mix? Get out of here.
Always like, as soon as he started going with Imogen to like all the baby appointments, I was like, that's the baby daddy. He did this. Like, that's where my brain went.
Yeah. I just want it to be that easy, because as an original Pretty Little Liars fan and watcher, you know, we don't in this new amalgamation of this show have our trusty, helpful boyfriends. You know, we don't have a Caleb.
Well, that's Sean. Sean's the trusty.
Sean.
At this point, that's Sean. And maybe Henry.
And maybe Henry.
He
Henry's
has
kind of
the whole
useless.
foot
But we
thing
got
with
Sean.
True, he did the whole foot thing, but how's Sean?
Sean is Noah's bouncing backboard. He's the one who got was going to try and get the football team. He's supposedly quitting his stuff. He's just the one that's always there supporting Noah and her crazy mom.
I guess they do play those roles probably, just not enough to me.
Yeah, he may not be helpful, but he is steadfast. So
Steadfast, but he's not helpful.
Yeah.
So I was hoping Chip was going to turn into that. That's why
I think Wes is the easy choice. I don't think Chip was the easy choice because I didn't get to Chip until halfway through the show.
Yeah, Wes I think was the easy choice as being a creeper because from episode 1 we called him out for being a groomer. So I think Wes was the easy choice, and as it may turn out, he's just there.
We'll see.
We'll see.
So Imogen is having dreams of finding her mom dead in the bathtub, murdered by A. You know, she is so certain that her mom did not unalive herself, that A killed her, because she doesn't understand why her mom would feel guiltier than all of the other moms. Because they were all friends, they were all a part of this whole thing. Why is her mom the guiltiest and so guilty that she would do this? I also wrote Chip is back at her baby checkups with Nurse Simmons. I wrote that down. So she speaks to the coroner and she is begging him for an autopsy. And he's like, that's fine, but we will have to exhume her body. And that has to get approved by the sheriff. So she's like, great, let me try that. And so the sheriff is like, she really plays him a little bit on his struggles with Karen's death and basically being like, if you could find out anything, wouldn't you want to know? And he's like, sure. And it's like, you have to get someone to sign this paper that's her next of kin. And this is when we get to meet Imogen's father, who really has never really been spoken of. We just know he's not around. We questioned why she did not go live with him and instead went to see Sydney. And we learn from him that he also doesn't believe that she unalived herself, that yes, her mom did suffer from horrible depression, but when she was pregnant with Imogen, that was the light in her life that she needed. However, she refused to talk about her time in high school, which he always was a little bit weird about. Suspicious. And that it was in Davy's will that she would go live with Sydney if something were to ever happen to her and not her father. So a lot of those questions we had got answered by her dad. And I really appreciate them tying up all those weird things. It wasn't that he was a deadbeat dad. He wasn't a bad father. Their relationship ended and he lived on a quarry. And he's like, this isn't any place for a child to live.
Yeah, I mean, nice way to give us more information at the tail end. But I still wonder how it might play back into something. From what I remember of Pretty Little Liars, anybody introduced never not comes back around. So
everybody's a suspect.
Everybody's a suspect.
So Imogen gets a call after she leaves her dad. She has the paper signed, blah, 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 moving on. She gets a call from the sheriff, and the sheriff is like, you playing tricks on me. You're terrible. I hate you. And Imogen's like, what the hell are you talking about? And he's like, your mother's body has already been dug up. What the hell?
I'm like, what?
So now we get into the end of the episode. And like we said, the end of this episode hits like a freight train. Everyone is in some shit.
Yeah. We find there's a match from the DNA. It's not a jock. So it's just someone at the school. Tabitha asking Greg if Chip was in the party in the woods.
Ash going to Mouse's mom's and being like, yo, she hasn't answered me back. And then we discover what Mouse has been up to for whoever knows how long.
I love that her mom's like, we're just track her phone. And I feel like Ash's face, they're all like, wait, what? And then we find her in the hotel room with Steve wearing Rachel's clothes, and Ash's face says it all. Ash is like,
and her moms are like, I don't care what, get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah. We already talked about Noah coming home and finding her mom's dealer on the couch, and she chases her out with a baseball bat, which was an amazing moment. Then Imogen has another crazy dream where she goes to visit and like her mom's grave and sees that everything's dug up and there's an A on the tombstone next to it and there's like a dead body and then he tries to kill her.
Yeah. Okay, which one of these is revealed first? Is Kelly? I think the Kelly part happens first. So after all of this, Faran's dad has been arrested and it definitely was like a warning, right? And so Corey goes to get him and they're like, it was just a warning, like it's fine, blah, blah, blah. But while Corey is out going to get her husband, Faran goes to Kelly's house and has a come to Jesus talk with Kelly and Kelly's mom and tells them everything she knows about the sheriff. And Kelly is freaking out, but Kelly's mom is like, oh, he's always been a miserable person. He's always had his secrets. It goes back to high school when he raped that girl.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that Sheriff Beasley is the one who assaulted Angela Waters.
And then
it gets worse because Imogen gets a phone call from her father and it's like, oh, hey, your mom did mention one thing from high school. It was her high school sweetheart. I think his name was Tom. And Imogen is like, Tom Beasley?
I'm like losing my mind during the episode at this point. Absolutely losing my mind.
This is the part where I was like, I don't care if we're not talking about episode 10, I'm watching episode 10 because I need to know.
I'm like, so Kelly's mom knew that her husband did this horrible thing and that girl killed herself. And then that man was her mom's boyfriend at the time. So it's like, all those, like, why would her mom feel guiltier? What did her mom do? Were they still together when the assault happened? We know Sydney knew, we know they knew about the assault and did nothing. Did Davy tell them to say nothing? Like, I have so many questions by the end of this episode.
This episode was a lot. I had a lot of anxiety.
But I know, it was so good. It was so good.
It really was the perfect penultimate episode because it gave you so much story, but left you wanting more. So you had to come back and watch the finale.
Yes. Which we will talk about next. So, guys, if this is where you stop with us, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and ring the bell. So you make sure that you can come join us to talk about the finale. And also, if there are any other shows that you want us to talk about, let us know because a lot of you have found us because of the show and like what we do. So thanks for that. Until the next time.
Bye.
Bye.